I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
This is Fish Jelly.
Yes, yes.
I have a song for us.
Oh.
Reunited and it feels so good. Reunited cause we understood. There's one perfect fit. And sugar, this one's it. We both are so excited cause we're reunited. Hey, hey.
Wow.
Do you recognize that song?
Not
It's by Peaches and Herb.
Okay.
It came out in 1978.
Okay.
Which was a horrible year. This is the first time we're recording the podcast in the same room for 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Now? So I'm sure people are happy to know that.
Well, that was a lovely interpretation.
Interpretation. Happy Pride.
Apple pie.
This is today is the West Hollywood Pride Parade.
Yep, skipping that.
Which is crazy. It feels like I was saying Happy Pride 3 months ago.
Were you?
But it's been 12 months.
Oh, that's what you mean. Time
flies when you're mentally ill, you know.
Time flies when the world's falling apart. Yep.
But yeah, so shout out to all the FAGs and all the Lebesians and everyone in between.
All the dolls.
All the they, thems and vegans, vegetarians. I don't know. Okay, so last week I was gone because I was on an Atlantis cruise.
Yes.
And this was my first time doing the Virgin Voyages cruise. So a Virgin boat, which is adults only 21 and up. And I really liked it. I really liked the boat. The cruise itself was extremely undersold. Not sure. There were a lot of theories, but so I guess max passenger occupancy was 2,800 and there were only 600 something on the boat.
Wow.
So it was empty.
Okay.
But for my purposes, that was really nice.
Sure.
It was very chill, very relaxing. Obviously, that's not sustainable for that business. So I doubt I'll get to experience another gay cruise like that. But for my first time on a Virgin boat, I thought that was a really nice way to enjoy it. So how are these boats different? You know, they're clearly made to, a normal, Royal Norwegian Carnival cruise ship is really catered to families. So a lot of stuff is to incorporate the fact that there will be kids on the boat. But this boat, the Virgin boat, felt, clearly it's about adults eating, drinking.
And a bunch of sharp corners.
Yeah, lots of sharp corners and exposed outlets. But probably the biggest thing would be with the food, which I guess I'll talk about in the restaurant section. But I did want to talk about the entertainment on the boat because Bianca Del Rio performed on the ship. And for people who know her, she's an insult comic and she's very good at that. I will say, listening to an insult comic for an hour is a lot.
Yeah.
Because there's no actual story. There's no through line. It's just insult, comic, crowd work, insult. The funniest moment of her set, though, is there was a person in the audience who was a flight attendant. So, of course, Bianca picks this person in the audience and is going to start making fun of them and goes, "What do you do for work?" "I'm a flight attendant." "For which airline?" "Delta." "Oh, well, I'm a Delta Diamond Platinum top tier member. I've never seen you on any of my flights." And I thought the funniest moment of her set was this flight attendant goes, "Oh, well, I fly international." And Bianca was gagged. She was stunned and then just moved on. So I thought that was the funniest part. And then Monet Exchange, who I think is becoming one of my favorite drag queens.
Okay.
So who are some of your favorite drag queens?
None of them. Well, I back in a couple years ago, I would say somebody like a Bianca or Bob the drag queen, but I think I feel overexposed to most of them. But I think that the point with Monet is we watched her kind of grow into becoming herself.
Yeah.
And blossoming, if you will. So yeah, I like her. Currently, I really like Bosco, if I'm pulling a name out of a hat.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I really like Bosco's energy. Somebody that seems like they have a thought beyond tomorrow.
My favorites, well, I think will always be Coco Peru,
Oh yeah, if we're talking outside the realm of
Yeah.
Drag Race,
Coco
yeah.
Peru, Lady Bunny. I think Monet is probably up there now.
Hmm.
So Monet did comedy and she was really funny. She's not as polished, but that was kind of the charm because I felt like Monet just got up on stage looking fabulous and just started telling stories about her life and a lot about just like her discovering her sexuality. And I thought one of the best, I laughed out loud a lot during Monet's set, but one
Hmm.
of the funnier moments was she talked about how much she loves performing fellatio. Like it's her favorite thing to do. And so she recounted a story of the time she, like her longest performance was with this man. It took an hour, 20 minutes for her to get this man to completion. And she says something that I've been laughing about for like 4 days now. She goes at the hour mark. This went from a blowjob to blow slavery. And I think that thinking
Hmm.
about the phrase blow slavery has been making me laugh for several days now.
Chapter 6.
But the way she recounted it and talked about how her knees went numb, so she had to like get on her right thigh, her left thigh, doing all the tricks. It just, I felt like you were watching Monet go on for an hour, felt like you were actually hearing like, I think comedians who give a piece of who they are to us are the
Hmm.
ones I prefer. Like a Richard Pryor, a Dave Chappelle. It's problematic, but even like Bill Cosby, I find,
Yeah.
you know, his storytelling, because he tells stories that, you know,
Louis
you,
C.K.
Louis, another problematic one, but I
Yeah.
also, he's one of my favorites, Maria Bamford.
Chappelle.
Yep. I prefer all of those over someone like an Amy Schumer, who I feel like a lot of what she's saying is just made up shit.
Well,
Although I feel like she's calmed down now that she's
it's like a
now,
shtick.
yeah, she went from being so sticky to like, well, she married that autistic man and then she had a kid. So now her
Yes.
comedy's infused with that. So it feels a little more real to me. But
Lisa Lampanelli, where it's like, well, this is an angle that we're driving into the ground. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I really enjoyed Monet Exchange. Jackie Cox was on the boat and
Oh,
who I had totally forgotten about.
the Persian
The
drag queen.
Persian drag queen whose mother was disappointed she didn't become a doctor. Well, she has a show called Nurse Jackie. And she basically does parody versions of popular songs. And one
Okay.
of the funniest ones I can recall is, you know, the song Roxy from Chicago,
Yes.
but she changed the lyrics to be Doxy. So talking about doxycycline
Hmm.
pep. I thought that was really funny. And then I think I feel like every cruise I've taken, I discover someone who I wasn't fully aware of. And this cruise, because, you know, they hire sort of obscure people, but
Hmm.
then, you know, they become part of like the gay cruise circuit.
The milieu.
Yes. And so one of the people I discovered was this young lady named Alyssa Ray. She made it to the top 10 of American Idol season 19. Her voice was amazing. And she was so fun and cute. She looks very young, like 23,
Hmm.
but her voice was so soulful and very strong. And her song selections were brilliant because she was doing songs that catered to like the crowd, like this older gay crowd. It was
Hmm.
very smart. And when she first came out on stage, she fell off the stage.
Ooh.
She put it on her Instagram, Alyssa Ray. If you look, it's on her feed that she walks out and she's tall. She's taller than I am. She just walks right off the stage and like death drops.
Oops.
But she recovered very well. And I hope that she's on the next cruise I go on. Another big surprise was for people who go on cruises, you know that every cruise ship has like their resident production. And
Hmm.
so on like a Norwegian or a Royal, they have like, I've been on cruises where they have their production of Cats or, oh God, just a lot of like sort of cheesy musicals uh, that they, I guess, are hoping will appeal to a broader audience.
Hmm.
So I didn't know that this cruise ship had a resident show or show in residence, but one night there wasn't like a big performer. So I asked someone, well, what's going on tonight? And they're like, oh, it's like they're like the boat show. So I showed up knowing nothing.
The
And
boat.
then,
The boat show.
yeah. And so I get on, it's like, oh, it's called Around the World. So I'm like, oh, it's like a travel themed show. That seems kind of corny. And
Like
then
Daft, isn't that Daft Punk song?
around the
Yeah.
world, around the people already heard me sing. They probably don't want any more.
Oh, please,
But
please more.
but when you walk into the theater, there were all these like old timey Pan Am flight attendants
Mhm.
like greeting you. So I'm like, oh, interesting. But it turns out that show is about this woman who's traveling around the globe, and it's a drag queen, Cordelia Facade. But I was very impressed, like for this to be the show. So this is not the show that's just for the gay cruise. This is anyone who goes on a Virgin Atlantic cruise, a Virgin Voyage. This is the show they're seeing. This adult, but apparently Virgin is, because it's how they're marketing it, the crowd tends to be younger.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was pretty cool.
Cordelia.
And then she was singing her, like, parody versions of popular songs.
Mm-hmm.
She did like 2 Madonna songs. I recall she did J-Lo's Let's Get Loud. She did like an 80s, 90s
that's
montage.
A banger.
Yeah.
I'm going to live my life.
Now, did I think she was the best? She's very like white drag queen who does like show tunes.
Oh, yes.
So like can sing and dance, but like there's not a lot of flavor to it.
I can do that.
So she was doing Vogue and Let's Get Loud, but like Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
So it was very like karaoke, but still, it was.
You were entertained.
I was entertained, and I felt seen. Like, well, for a cruise ship to have this be the big show that they do for everyone is pretty cool. And then my last note about it is I met there was this middle-aged Midwestern woman on the cruise. And she looked like someone's mom. And she was a really nice lady, and she said hi to me once. And then I go to Bianca's show and see that she's the ASL interpreter.
Okay.
So then after that, I saw her again while I was sitting at a bar, and I was talking to her, and she was the nicest lady. She told this really sweet story about how she's an empty nester and a divorcee, and had learned ASL because one of her children is hearing impaired.
Mm-hmm.
But then after she got a divorce, she felt like she needed a job and something to do. So she got certified to be an interpreter, and that this was her first time doing a gay cruise.
Nice.
And she was just so excited. It was like, can you imagine? Like, that's like 0 to 100.
Yeah.
To go, because during Bianca's show, of course, she was being nasty and vile. And then she also, Brad Loakley is the comedian. Mm-hmm. You've seen him.
Yes, I have.
He always does the last laugh, which is basically like he takes notes from the cruise and basically like makes a PowerPoint and makes fun of everyone. And he's extra nasty and vile. Mm-hmm. And he was really engaging with the interpreter. And I just thought, how cool. Like this Midwestern mom who's just was trying to find a new, like a second chapter in her life.
Chapter 2 starring Marsha Mason.
And she does this, and like she just seemed like she was having so much fun.
Yeah.
And, like,
as opposed to a lot of the people whose dreams and souls were crushed on the boat.
Oh, well, I won't go into that rant, but I'll talk about the food later. But moving on, this past week, the American Music Awards happened, and we know that there was like a 2-year hiatus.
There was.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So they were back for the first time after that hiatus, and it had the lowest ratings it ever had. J-Lo hosted.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And Janet Jackson performed on television for the first time in 7 years. She received the Icon Award. Janet looked fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
She was fully snatched. She performed her now viral TikTok song, Someone to Call My Lover, from the All For You album. And then she performed All For You and then received her award presented by Tasha Smith. And she said some nice things. But
how much I feel like she's had several Icon Awards from various entities.
Well, she received the MTV Icon Award. Yeah. She's received something from BET, the Legend Award.
Yes.
I think it's fitting.
Of course. Yeah. If anybody can deserve those titles, yes. But it's just funny that the same lingo is used.
Yeah. But several people messaged me like wanting to talk about the awards and saying that her performance was a little sleepy because she only had 5 dancers, and but her creative director Gil had posted something the day before the performance, because while she's current yesterday was her last show in Vegas until September, but she was doing a string of 6 shows, and in the middle of that did the AMAs. So she was actively performing concerts while she had to come up with this performance for the AMAs. And so Gil, I think, preemptively made a video saying, when we were thinking about the performance, we thought she's receiving this icon award because she's done it all. And there's no need for her to prove herself and try too hard. And I thought that's true. And also maybe also trying to cover his tracks because they just probably didn't have the time to do something big. But also it felt a little like they were commenting, like they knew J-Lo was opening the show with a performance. And I watched J-Lo's performance. And that lady was doing way too much.
As usual in every other regard in her life.
And I just thought, and even a friend of ours commented about Janet's performance in a way that I did not appreciate. I didn't respond to him because I didn't want to get upset. But sometimes he says things and I'm like, girl,
why'd you have to say yes?
And just for knowledge, if you come incorrect to me about Janet,
dust.
Yeah, you're gonna forever be on my shit list. And
block.
And I might forget why I don't mess with you, but I'm not gonna forget not to mess with you. So just for your own safety, don't say shitty things about Janet Jackson to me. Don't send me pictures of her looking crazy, or I don't want to see it. But yeah, I think that when you compare J-Lo's performance to Janet's performance, it's like Janet, it was effortless. That lady has a huge catalog of hits. She has like dozens of number one songs. So she picked the one that everyone's bopping to on TikTok, and then another number one song of hers, and it was easy breezy. She looked fabulous in her baggy jeans and white puffy coat, and gave a humble acceptance speech. And I thought, that's what an icon does: show up, do the thing, look fabulous, snatch that award, and smooth walk off. Didn't sit in the audience, didn't stay.
Well, right.
That's what an icon does.
Well, but I mean, it's like, do they always have to sing for their supper when they're getting an award?
Right.
Can you just give her the goddamn award?
Now, would I have loved to see her get like a 15-minute, like with 30 dancers, sure, but also she's not doing that on her residency. And it's because she doesn't need to.
Right.
The songs are hits. Everyone knows that she can perform the house down.
Everybody has impossible expectations. Like, do you like the artist? Then just go see how they're spinning their craft out for you and enjoy it.
Just tell me you don't like Janet Jackson and we can just be done with it. But I don't need... I like her. I like what I'm grateful she gives me something. And that's all I have to say about it. Okay, moving on. There was a funny story I thought... So, you know who Kelly Mantle is?
Yes. Bacon.
Yes. She's a very talented drag performer who went home first on her season of Drag Race, but she's done many things. Her IMDb is loaded, and she currently has a talk show on YouTube that I watch. I think she's really fun.
And I don't mean to reduce her to that one moment from Drag Race, but it does come to mind.
But on a recent episode, she told a story. She was in a movie that I'm sure you have not heard of, called Confessions of a Womanizer. It's a 2014 film starring Gary Busey, C. Thomas Howell.
Oh, all the greatest hits there, yeah.
But Kelly Mantle's also in it. And so she recounted a story of having spent a lot of time with Gary Busey because they have a scene together. And she said and this story relates to a story I'm going to recount next about a different celebrity, but she said she was telling it because she says that she is of like an older school actor was just so grateful to be on set that like she does what needs to be done.
Oh yes,
like
it's about the work.
It's about the work, and it's before intimacy coordinators, and so it's just like I want to work, and she's like, I'm a theater trained actor, so it's like you just do what you need to do in the moment.
Oh, was he being Gary Busey?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. And so instead of Kelly Mantle sort of saying, stop, I can't do this, she kind of went with it. And so she said, you keep touching my breasts and you want to touch me. I'm going to let you do it, but you have to let me ask you a question.
Okay.
And Gary Busey said, okay.
Tit for tat.
Yes, exactly. So Gary fondled her, and then she got to ask her question. And her question was, it's drugs, right? Like, it has to be drugs. That's what's happened to you. Like, the evolution from the Gary Busey we knew to 2014 Gary Busey, it's drugs. And he told this lady, I've never done drugs. It's the vitamins I'm taking.
Oh, well, vitamins are drugs. Those are drugs.
Isn't that a euphemism for drugs? But the reason I shared that story is because I thought it was, cute of her to share, but it relates to another story because Lindsay Lohan was recently doing an interview, and the person asked her, like, you look amazing. Like, what have you done? What is it? And this lady, so her publicist, they put out a statement saying that they deny that she's had any work done.
What?
And they credit her youthful appearance to lemon juice, ice water in the morning, chia seeds, and pickled beets.
Why are we don't need to lie to people so boldly.
Now, on our YouTube, people know that I like to make a post of what we're going to talk about on the podcast. So I'm going to include a before and after of Lindsay Lohan. That lady,
those lips,
those teeth, all of it is new. There is no way that this beet juice, not beet juice and
that's like saying Kris Kardashian, like this woman
that her getting coffee bean enemas is to credit for her new look.
Sucked her back up there. Yeah, no. Mm.
But that being said, in Lindsay Lohan's defense, I think it's really crazy because effectively what Lindsay Lohan is doing is her job, right? Like, she's an actor and she's promoting her work. And so part of her doing press tours is her job. Imagine going to your job and your coworker or your boss asks you about your appearance, and
you're constantly having to defend it or explain it, or
that's crazy.
It is
that
crazy.
Lady shouldn't have to.
No, and it's, you know what? That'll be a moment where, like, 20 years from now, I'll be like, I can't believe how Lindsay was treated by the press.
Or like how when Britney was 18, they're asking about that child's breast. And
right.
It's like a grown-ass man asking her about her titties is crazy.
Or like I saw some montage about all the things Justin Bieber had to put up with, like even from James Corden.
Right.
Right. People, yes, it's inappropriate and dehumanizing.
So I think that she was being funny because... So that's why I bring it up, is because I think she's trolling the people because she has a new face. And she looks fabulous and good for her. Okay. I wanted to remind people that because when we first started the podcast for over a year, we were doing this section called Movies We Watch for Fun.
Yes.
And then when we started our Patreon, we moved that section to the Patreon.
It was just a slight shift.
So that we could have more time for you to talk about the movies you watched and monetize that. But I did want to mention, I did watch a few movies this past week that I'll talk about on Patreon, but one I wanted to bring up now is, have I ever seen The Wizard of Oz with you?
Yes, we watched it. You're the last person I watched it with when you were living with me in that Emerson Avenue apartment in Minneapolis.
Oh, so it's been well over a decade.
It was 2008, yeah.
So I didn't remember watching it as an adult. I know that as a kid, it'd come on TV like, I think during like Thanksgiving time, or it would be like a holiday type thing where it'd come on TV and we'd put it on. And I don't know that I could have recounted the story beyond the basics. Like, well, that Dorothy and Toto, and that there's the Tin Man, like Scarecrow. And honestly, I bet I probably know the Wizard of Oz story probably more because I know the Wiz.
Sure. Well, that is this.
And so the structure is the same.
Yeah.
And like, she clicks her ruby red slippers 3 times. But I rewatched it on the boat. And I have to say, Dorothy was annoying.
Oh, she's a trifling little girl.
She is trifling.
Yes.
And I guess because I didn't remember watching it as an adult, it didn't click with me that she is a problem.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
She is in the way.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Her whole thing is, so the opening of the film, I didn't remember this. I thought the film opened with the tornado.
No. We get to Auntie M and Margaret Hamilton's, what's her name? Wilhelmina Gulch.
So Margaret Hamilton is the Wicked Witch, right?
Yes.
So for people if someone somehow doesn't know the story of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, is that it's basically a dream kind of, and that she all the characters we see in this magical dream are related to her real life. And so Margaret Hamilton is this mean lady who becomes the witch. But I didn't realize that I don't think that that witch was wrong for being mad. The reason that the Margaret Hamilton's character is mad in the real world is because Dorothy's raggedy ass dog Toto is out here biting fools.
Yes.
And she had bit Margaret Hamilton more than once.
Yes.
And so Margaret was fed up and went to the authorities and got a warrant to bring the dog in.
Yeah, give me that dog.
And let me tell y'all something. If my neighbor's dog bit me,
well,
I'm going straight to animal control. And if they have to put that dog down, so be it. I'm not.
There are many ways. Well, let's not talk about murdering animals. But if I had a vendetta, I would, probably act.
Well, but I'm just saying, I didn't think that the mean old lady was out of pocket.
No, and she also seemed like a miserable. It's Kansas. She seemed miserable.
And then Dorothy. So the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Cowardly Lion, they're all farmhands. Yeah. Like they're day workers.
Yes.
And so the opening of the film is Dorothy bothering everyone, talking about, oh my God, the mean old neighbor is trying to take Toto because he bit her. And then she almost gets those three guys fired.
Uh-huh.
Because she's interrupting their work. And then Auntie M comes out like, stop interrupting. They need to work. I'm going to fire you if you don't get back to work. Dorothy is trifling.
She certainly is.
She really bothered me.
But did you like Judy?
I mean, Judy Garland is sort of magical.
Yeah.
But Dorothy ain't shit. She really isn't.
I agree.
She would have annoyed the hell out of me. Like, bitch, I'm trying to work and you over here screaming about your badass dog. And then when the lady comes with the warrant to take the dog, and Dorothy's just like, this is not right. No, you need to keep your dog in check, little girl. Put it on a leash.
This is what happens.
This is what happens.
There are consequences.
Okay.
I remember a birthday party at Pizza Hut as a child. And I remember my mom buying me that on VHS. So this would have been like early 90s.
You had a party at Pizza Hut?
Yeah.
Back when they had like real sit-down restaurants?
Yes.
And I thought that was so fancy.
Those red cups, those red plastic cups. And the Book It program. Oh my God.
I saw that. I follow an Instagram page that shows like interesting like homes. And someone like there was some old Pizza Hut restaurant that had been turned into a home that's up for sale.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, you were saying you had a party at Pizza Hut.
Oh, I remember the very first VHS cover of that because it was like a whatever year anniversary version. So it had like inserts and it was a fancy VHS.
Okay. Well, we get to do 5 on the Black Hand side again. 5 Black filmmakers who are not Tyler Perry. First up, you have
Haley Elizabeth Anderson. I just finished watching her first feature today, Tendaberry, which you can go watch on Mubi right now, which I did quite like. It's about a young woman who's struggling. She's on the struggle bus. She's singing on the subway for money. She works stocking shelves and is obsessed with this dead gay man who recorded 1,900 hours of footage of himself at Coney Island. So there's a lot of kind of sadness about time and memory and how we only just have the moment. And she kind of comes to a decent place for herself at the end. But I think that it's well worth watching.
Next.
Ayoka Chenzira. I think only feature is Alma's Rainbow. And I've owned this forever and been waiting to watch it. I finally watched it this week. Also kind of about a young Black girl growing up in New York in the 90s and kind of having a tempestuous relationship with her mother, who's very strict. And they are kind of, their rhythm is a little bit interrupted by the arrival of this fabulous aunt, the mother's sister, who is a somewhat notable performer. And the sisters, so the mom and aunt, used to travel and perform together, but mom gave it up for a stable job. She has a salon that looks like a mortuary, but it's very interesting. I was going to pull you downstairs to have you look at the salon because it's very interesting looking. But it's a very slice of life drama. And I think the restoration was at the behest of Julie Dash. Ava DuVernay is splashed all over the cover praising it. So definitely a blast from the past worth checking out.
Next.
Michael Jai White.
Who we should all know Um,
Black Dynamite.
Black Dynamite, of
Well,
course. The Why Did I Get Married films.
Yes, he's a notable actor, but he's
Yeah.
also a director. His first two were direct to video with Never Back Down sequels, which I don't believe I've ever seen anything from that franchise. But he also did Outlaw Johnny Black, a neo western from a couple years ago, and he's got a couple things on the horizon, including Trouble Man, which I would love if that is a rehash of the blaxploitation classic, but I don't think it is.
Next.
Next, Billy Porter, who also we know more of as an actor, but I believe you and I both liked his directorial debut, Anything's Possible.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
You don't?
You don't?
Oh,
Leg of Lamb?
Oh, Scatman Crothers. You like a leg of lamb? You don't? It's about that young trans girl who's senior year of high school. I think it was an Amazon Prime.
Anything is possible?
Anything's Possible.
Oh my God. Did we review it?
No, I think we watched it just to enjoy it. But we both liked it. I thought it was a great lead.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. I'm sorry, Billy.
Sorry,
Billy.
girl. And then was that for George Tillman Jr., who has had some incredibly notable films, including The Hate You Give. I remember seeing The Inevitable Defeat of Mr. and Pete, actually as a decent Jennifer Hudson performance. Like 20 some years ago, he had some cornball stuff like Man of Honor with Cuba Gooding Jr., a very young ingenue, Ellis Taylor, and Robert De Niro. We've Notorious, we've
Christopher Wallace.
Yes, we've seen that together.
Biopic.
One of the barbershop films. I mean, he has a pretty Beauty Shop. He has a pretty impressive resume. But I think the last thing he did we didn't quite like, which was the George Foreman biopic. And I'm sorry, I missed. He didn't direct Beauty Shop; he produced it. But anyway.
Well, thank you for that. Okay, moving on to the restaurant section. I'll start with, you made bread pudding.
I did.
And so whenever Nick goes to France.
Wow.
I cannot, to me, Cannes is like Venice, and Venice is in Italy.
That's true.
Right. Okay. So I think Cannes is in Italy. But whenever Nick is in France, he brings back this one brand of brioche bread.
Yes.
That they sell in the grocery store.
Uh-huh.
And that bread is better than any brioche I've ever had in the United States. Even at like fancy bakeries, I've never had brioche as good. Is this regular ass brioche you just buy at the store like Wonder Bread?
Yeah, it's and that I was introduced to it the very first year I went. The person I wrote for loved it, and yeah.
So the tradition has been that you'll bring some back and then you'll get me some Nutella.
Yes.
And then we'll just eat it up in like a day.
Yeah.
But this time, because I wasn't home when you got back, because I was on my gay cruise, you made bread pudding, but you made, what was the recipe?
Paula Deen's.
You made Paula Deen's brown sugar rum.
Brandy.
Bread pudding. And the funniest part of it is that it's very good. It's very sweet.
Yes.
And you were like, it's so sweet. I didn't realize it'd be so sweet. You didn't realize the Paula Deen bread pudding was... Paula Deen is notorious. Maria Bamford has a joke about Paula Deen.
Well, and then Kristen Wiig's Berter and Earl. But I haven't really cooked a lot of her recipes.
Can you tell us about what's in that bread pudding you made? Because it's very good.
It probably has less butter than you think, but I think there are 3 cups of white sugar, a cup of brown sugar, because in 5 eggs, there's an egg in the vanilla sauce that you pour over it in the end. If I were to do it again, I think that I would modify it, especially with the sauce. It doesn't need so much sugar.
It's very sweet, yeah.
But and then I also went to Sultan Straw and bought you some double fold vanilla to go,
which I didn't even try because I'm like, I don't think I can.
Well, again, this is, but
my A1C is hanging on by a thread. I can't.
God, but I can still taste the remnants of the original brioche. But you have to cut it up and let it stale overnight. That's a tip that I think is pretty typical across most bread pudding recipes. But I would probably tweak hers a little bit. And of course, there's brandy in the sauce, which I don't know if you can even really taste.
I could taste it, but it's not. overwhelming because sometimes it when you bake with rum or brandy or whatever, it just kind of bakes off, but then it leaves
Yeah.
that aftertaste. I feel like this was like just enough to give a hint.
But I will say I would make it again. I think it tastes kind of decadent.
Well, yes, I think your revision would make sense. Also, I thought it'd be really good with some fresh whipped cream where
Yeah,
there's not too much sugar in the whipped cream.
that's probably better
That
than
would have
ice
been
cream.
really good. And then we went to a restaurant we've gone to before. Connie and Ted's is
Uh-huh.
a seafood restaurant in West Hollywood. It's quite nice, actually. And every time I want to go is usually on a night when they're not open.
Yeah.
And then we did something cool yesterday that I probably won't talk about for a couple months, but afterwards we were like, we deserve a nice dinner. So, and I'm like, well, let's try Connie and Ted's. And I was so surprised they had reservations because we usually can't even get in on a Wednesday, but somehow on a Saturday night they had spots. But I have to say, you ordered this, like, what was it called? A spicy Sammy or
There was the hot Sammy fish sandwich or something like that.
I think it was Alaskan cod.
Yeah.
But whatever, they seasoned that thing right.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, it was good.
It was well, because I was like, I'm only gonna eat half. And then I'm like, nope, eating the whole thing.
Connie and Ted's, well, a couple things I think of when I think of Connie and Ted's. It's a little spendy.
Yes.
It's a little spendy.
Uh-huh.
But the food is good.
The food's good. And I like lobster and I like shrimp and I like clam strips. But then I'm like, do I want to pay that much for this right now? I don't know. And their lobster rolls are pretty good. I remember we had that there, or I had that there before.
The other thing is the phenomenon of these restaurants in West Hollywood that do not persist.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, there are some key ones that have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And Connie and Ted's is one of them. And I was trying to think, why do you think that is? I mean, the quality of the food is great, but it's spendy.
It's spendy. The service is nice.
It's nice.
I don't know. Maybe the location.
I guess
they have valet.
They have, well, and there's parking. I mean, there's every time we go, we find meter parking really easily. Well, and there is a big metered, because it's right in front of Vaseline Alley, who, if people don't know, that's like an old cruising spot in WeHo that if you want to see men having sex next to a car, just go to Vaseline Alley. And we saw some people yesterday.
Yeah, behind out of the closet. Yeah.
And it wasn't that late when we left the restaurant.
I think just with gay men, all hours, every day, all day.
Anytime, any place, yeah. Janet. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then I was going to talk about the food on the Virgin cruise, because it is different from all the other cruises I've been on. First of all, there's no buffet. Mm-hmm. So they have like a food court. So it felt like you're in a mall food court, like a nice one. And they have all these different stations. And so all of the food is given to you, like cafeteria style kind of. But they did something that I thought was really interesting in the food court, is they had a lot of prepackaged meals in these really nice containers that are like meant to be reused. But they basically, like, at any time you can go to these refrigerated cases and get prepackaged like turkey sandwich, veggie wrap, charcuterie platter, chocolate mousse pudding, cut up fruit. So it just makes it really easy to grab a bite if you don't want to have to do the sit-down restaurants. But they did have several nice sit-down restaurants. I will say, because I've done several mini cruises on Royal Caribbean and Norwegian, and they try to encourage singles to eat with other people. And I always, depending on my mood, usually say no. But the Virgin, they seemed a little more aggressive about, no, you need to sit with other people. We're not just going to seat one person at a table for 4. So then I thought, you know what? Every meal I'm going to eat with people. So that was something new that I did this time, which actually wasn't that bad.
No, people are interesting.
People are interesting. But I did want to talk about a couple of the things I eat. So they have a restaurant called Razzle Dazzle, which is like their vegan option. And that was my least favorite restaurant. And there was one item on the menu I tried that was so ridiculous to me. It was basically, so they took a watermelon and cut it like a cross section. So it's like a plate of watermelon, like a big round cut of, like a huge piece of watermelon.
A steak.
And this is the vegan restaurant. So it's the steak of watermelon. Mm-hmm. They topped it with tofu cream.
Okay. Was it sweet?
The tofu cream?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, so this is a succulent dish.
And then they top that with granola
Okay.
and then all these berries that were frozen. I thought that shit was disgusting. Those, like, when I think of granola, I don't think of watermelon. And then this tofu cream gave it this weird, like, sour
Tofu cream.
this tofu. You know what it? If
Mhm.
that's what it tastes like, tofu cream.
Full of antioxidants, it sounds like. So
You know what it made me think? Sometimes these vegan options, they try too hard.
well,
Because they try to give you something new and fresh. It's like sometimes we don't need it. We don't need watermelon with tofu cream and granola. Okay, that did not go together.
what are those things at Ralph's, the cold food buffet? Those lettuce wraps that had like a hunk of cheese and shit in it. Like, that looks disgusting.
So at like I've at like finer dining steakhouses, they have the wedge salads, and
Yes.
those are usually they cut you a smaller wedge and then they top it with like blue cheese, like thick cut bacon.
Yeah.
So your bite is, yes, it's like a chunk of lettuce, but it's also like really good, yummy stuff. But then when you go to like Ralph's and they just have that big ass wedge of lettuce with like a little drizzle of ranch dressing, and you want me to pay like $12 for that?
No.
Okay. Then they have a Mexican restaurant on the boat called Pink Agave. And I have to say, I was so disappointed because I get in there and they have the first thing my eye saw was they had that, the one you like, the conchinita pibil.
Oh, yes.
So that was like immediately, I'm like, I want that. And then now that I love guacamole, like bring me the guacamole. Chow, they bring my plate out and they bring me guacamole with tortilla chips and they bring out the pork and it's just cubes of like pork belly. It was not like what I wanted.
Where's my pibil?
Right. But the gag of the century was that there were no beans and rice. And I'm like, well, where are my beans and rice? Oh, we don't serve beans and rice.
Okay, you can't be a Mexican
restaurant. You can't be a Mexican restaurant.
No.
Now, we both know someone who I'm very fond of, and she is obsessed with tacos. And she and I have this debate often because, of course, I love tacos, but I'm a beans, and she's also Mexican. But she's of the camp who doesn't like beans and rice because she feels like she can use those calories to eat more tacos.
Okay, I do agree with that.
And so I don't hate on her for that, because she still likes beans and rice. She just wants more of the other thing.
I just want them on the side. I want like a spoonful.
I'm of the camp that you better not bring me a plate of tacos, enchiladas. You better not bring me a burrito if you don't have beans and rice. And I want refried beans. I don't want your canned black beans that you drain.
What's that restaurant in the Arts District in LA that has some of the best beans and rice?
Oh my God. It's called, oh my God.
Like, I think I liked it better than the,
I need to look it up because they have the best beans I've ever had. So we need to know.
That reminds me of a story involving rice at a Mexican restaurant and you.
What is it?
This is, I think, when we lived in Echo Park, it was Christmas Eve and we stupidly decided that was probably work related, that we're going to go drive to Vegas to see relatives, and traffic was horrendous.
Oh.
And we pulled over at some point. I don't think we even gotten far outside of LA.
Yes.
We go to this Mexican restaurant.
I think we were in like Rancho Cucamonga or something.
I mean, it looks like it'd be great because sometimes the hole in the walls have the best food. And we get there and we order our food and they straight up bring everything out except your rice. And you almost lost it. We're going to turn around. We're not going to Vegas. Where's my rice? I'm not eating this food till my rice.
I went into full white woman. I was like, this not on and on Christmas Eve. I threw an effing fit.
And you threw that waiter, the attendant, that's what the server, flight attendant staff. You threw her such shade, and she was just like, whatever.
Oh, I was mad. Well, so to counteract that, there's a restaurant in the Arts District of Los Angeles called Gorilla Tacos.
That's it, yes.
And they have the best and their tacos are overpriced to me, but for some reason, you can order a side of beans for like $6 and you get a really big portion of it.
Yes.
Those are the best refried beans I've ever had.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Pretty good.
And I just don't know how a Mexican restaurant does not serve refried beans and rice.
I was thinking of that. What was that salsa and beer you took me to a couple times? We should go back there.
Oh, in North Hollywood?
Yeah,
actually. Well, there's always today.
There's always today. And you're going to live tomorrow if you don't die today.
Well, I wouldn't be that lucky.
Oh God.
Anyway, okay. So then they're every boat has like their like their main dining room, and this one on the ship was called the Wake, and it was very nice.
The Wake?
The Wake.
That's morbid,
I
isn't it?
know. I liked
Okay.
it. Their brunch was really good. My favorite item from them was the filet mignon, which was nice because usually on the other boats, if you want that cut of meat, you have to pay extra. But on this one,
Give me this goddamn
there
meat.
were premium options. Like if you want a lobster tail, you can pay more or whatever. But
You all gonna throw this food away. Give me that lobster. Why do I gotta pay extra?
and then the final restaurant on the boat is this Korean barbecue spot. And that one was for a little I did like my food, and it was standard like Korean barbecue whatever, but of course you have to sit with a group, and then they have like these drinking game. They tried to make it an experience, but then it turned into like a 2-hour thing.
So an unpleasant experience.
Well, it just was like, and then people are so weird with food. It's like, especially the gays, like they try to be cute, but it's like, you're hungry, girl. Just eat, okay?
Can please eat in front of these strangers that you probably never have to see again.
Oh, I missed one. So there's another restaurant called the Test Kitchen, and it's called Food Science, and it's like experimental menus. And I have to say, that food
Experimental menus.
Yeah, so basically, so here to give you an example, so it's a 5 or 4 course experience, and they have 3 different experiences. So on the ship, you can get 3 different experiences, I guess, of like different menus. But I only tried it once because it was disgusting. So one of the items they gave me was called egg caviar.
Okay.
And so basically, it was an egg yolk that had been. They did something to the outside so that it was like contained.
Okay. So like the membrane was cooked a little or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. So you have this egg yolk in the membrane, and it's on a bed of peas, and then with caviar.
Oh, okay. So lots of similar shaped food.
So then I'm like, okay, I'll try this. I cut into the egg thinking that it was cooked, but it wasn't.
And I would.
And you know how I feel about runny eggs.
Yes, man.
But I thought, let me try it.
Also recalls a story where you threw a shit fit. Yeah.
So basically, I got a forkful of egg yolk, caviar, and peas, and it tasted exactly like how you would think.
2 different animal
like
eggs.
A booger.
2 different animal eggs.
Yeah, it was disgusting. Then there was this.
I've never had caviar.
You haven't?
No, never.
Oh.
Not for any trying to avoid it. I just haven't.
Well, I'm not fancy, but I did have a period in my life where I was around a lot of fancy people. So I did have the occasion to eat caviar often. And it's honestly, if I put it on a cracker and put it in your mouth, you wouldn't
know.
Well, it's just like this salty thing that's on a cracker,
like pate.
And you have to put a lot of it to taste it.
Sure.
Like, the little bit that you might get on a little, it's you depending on what flavor the cracker is, you might not even know. So speaking of that, then another item they gave me was this mushroom pate. And so basically they ground up like several different types of mushrooms and then made a pate out of it and then served it with what do you call it when they make toast that looks like a crouton?
Bruschetta?
You know what I'm talking about. It's not bruschetta, but it's thinner, and it's like really crispy toast that's really thin, and it's like really oily and salty.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They serve it with that, and that was interesting because the pate doesn't taste like anything. All you taste is that salty, oily cracker. So it was tasty, but mainly because of the cracker. Then we got scallops with ham.
Ooh.
And this like miso in like miso soup.
Oh, that's
I couldn't eat that. I had one bite. You would have liked it.
Oh, I love scallops. Yes.
Yeah, but it was like so it tasted like so what it tasted like to me was miso soup with a bunch of scallops in it. You would have liked it.
Uh-huh.
And then prosciutto in it. And I just thought that combination and the scallop was gross.
Odd combination. I would fuck with, well, I would eat that.
Then the main dish was filet mignon, but with chocolate.
Okay.
And that was not cute. Like the chocolate. Yeah. So how they did it was there was like chocolate powder on top of the steak, and then they poured this hot liquid on top
Uh-huh.
that made like a gravy.
Okay.
And it just tasted like someone took Hershey's cocoa powder and mixed it with your steak. And then the dessert was this like flourless chocolate cake with cinnamon and like or asparagus or something crazy. So yeah, that I didn't need to do.
Well, you don't like mole.
And then I didn't even think about that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't love mole. Well, the chocolate kind.
Yeah.
But other things on the boat that I thought were cute is they had a candy shop.
Okay.
And at first I thought it was decoration, but then when I walked by once and the guy was like, "Oh, do you want some candy?" And they had red vines, they had gummy bears, they had all this different types of fudge. So, you know, unfortunately, I had my physical right before the cruise, and I was told that I need to get my cholesterol down, my A1C is a little high, and I need to lose 20 pounds.
I know. That's why I had that in mind, obviously, when I made the bread pudding.
Yeah.
Like, well, after that, we'll work on that.
So I weighed myself when I got on the boat because they had a very nice gym. That was another highlight, is that I had some really nice workouts on the boat because it was just a very nice setup, and it was very relaxing because there was no one there. But I weighed myself when I got on the boat, and then I weighed myself the last day.
And
I definitely gained like 6 pounds.
really?
Yes.
Okay.
But that's that.
I mean, it's vacation.
Do you have anything to add to the food section?
No,
I saw some Indian food in the refrigerator.
Oh, yes. You know, I like some chicken tikka masala, but then I never get enough naan. I want that naan.
Some of y'all be stingy with that naan.
Yeah, there's no reason. There's no reason to be stingy with the naan. And in fact, it reminds me that I just need to make my own. I need to make my own naan.
The Trader Joe's naan is not bad.
No, it's not. It's not bad. But you know, like that homemade burnt. It's just like those tortillas when they really pop that kind of are burnt a little bit.
When they have little pustules.
Oh yes, love it. They look like leprosy. And then I think I got fat tomato pizza while you were gone once, which hit the spot when I needed it to. And then when you came back, because I didn't feel like I got you some tu madre burritos, which are always good.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on. So we reviewed the film Bring Her Back. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you noticed, but at the end of the video, I changed my score.
You did?
So I made a new video and like on my phone and inserted it in.
Uh-huh. What'd you change it to?
3 out of 5.
Oh, you lowered your score.
So of course there were questions like I got messages like, what did you, blah, blah, blah. So I think after talking about it, so originally I gave the film 3.5, mm-hmm. But then after talking about it, I felt like and of course in the comments of our video, you can see, I mean, I deleted some because people weren't nice about it, but people clarified a lot of things that we were not fully clear on, or they had their own hypotheses that do make sense to me. But I kind of felt like after we talked about it, there was just a little too much like ambiguity for me.
I think it's very vague on some pertinent details.
Yeah.
And, so I again, that I think makes for great. You bring your own hypothesis to something, but to me, I need a little more.
I did enjoy the film. I would recommend people see it. I think it's fresh, but I did lower my score from 3.5 to 3. So for people who are very concerned about that.
I mean, that happens sometimes. It just does.
Okay. Well, this episode's going to be long. Oh. Films released we didn't cover. Karate Kid Legends.
Oh, God. Yeah, this came out while you were gone, and I didn't want to go to the press screening.
That trailer looked like boo-boo.
Jonathan Entwistle is the director. But yeah, Ralph Macchio's back. We got Jackie Chan in there. Maybe I'll see this eventually, but no, I don't know.
The Phoenician Scheme. You did talk about this in the Best and Worst of Cannes video.
Yes, because I saw it in Cannes. It was in competition. And had I liked it, I probably would have said, when you come back, we'll pay to see it and also review it. But I couldn't put myself through this again. I
guess if someone wants to pay us on Patreon, but otherwise I'm not interested.
I'm so goddamn tired of Wes Anderson. I can't take it. It does not work for me.
Lastly, Tornado starring Jack Lowden, who, if you remember, played Siegfried Sassoon, and Tim Roth and Joanne Whalley. Sounds kind of interesting. It's from John McLean, who directed something called Slow West, which I also remember liking, but that was released this week. Projects of interest. So apparently Frances McDormand's going to portray Patti LuPone.
Patti LuPone, who just, I think, for the first time ever issued a public apology to Audra McDonald.
I was actually reading about that, and I think, I don't know, Patty needs to calm down.
She does.
She needs to. She needs to take some Emergency and some Activia and sit down somewhere.
Yes, we don't have to be so abrasive all the time. Okay.
Oh, say that again.
We don't need to be so abrasive. Oh, rude.
Are you gonna practice what you preach?
I think anybody that bothers to listen realizes that I have levels.
That's what it is? Your anger management issues are just levels?
Well, I'm a human. Things go up. Okay. All right. You just want to be difficult.
Okay. Is there a new vampire project?
But anyway, so Frances McDormand might play Patty Lupone.
Yep.
That's very odd seeming, but anyway.
Next, vampires.
Lynn Ramsey's. Lynn Ramsey's been talking a lot. Like, it's been, 7 years since her last film. So I think she talks about a lot of projects that she wants to do that just don't happen. But apparently she's going to do a vampire film and reuniting her with Ezra Miller, who starred in her film We Need to Talk About Kevin.
And Ezra Miller's career is kind of...
Ezra probably needs help about now.
Dang.
But...
Jack of Spades.
Joel Cohen, the Cohen brothers continue to be working on their own, has cast Josh O'Connor in Jack of Spades. I don't know what the plot's about, though.
Possible Love.
On Lee Chang-dong, also, his last film was 2018. If you haven't seen a Lee Chang-dong film, amazing filmmaker. Amazing. Secret Sunshine. I need to have you watch that sometime. It is so damn good. His new project, Possible Love, I think was in trouble, but Netflix has stepped in to assist with that. So, which means it'll probably be in Venice at some point, probably over a year from now.
Lastly, Illustrious Unknown.
I thought this project was dead because I had first read about it years ago. But apparently, it's about to film a new Mark Fitoussi film, its third union with Isabelle Huppert after Copacabana and Paris Follies, and also reuniting him with Sandrine Kiberlin, who also he directed her in a very cute performance in a film called Pauline Detective, also about a decade old. But he works quite regularly. But so he's reuniting with both these fantastic actors, and Isabelle is playing a woman who is an extra, who's like been a career extra on film sets and finally gets a big break due to a relationship with this actor. So clearly lots of irony, I think, will be on hand, but can't wait.
And then on our Patreon, we haven't posted anything since we haven't been together, but we have many reviews coming on Patreon.
Yes, we do.
So sign up.
Probably one we'll record today, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, we have one probably dropping today. Unfortunately, there are many entries in the obituary section. First, we have Valerie Mahaffey. She was an American actress who was best known, I think, for
Northern Exposure.
Yeah. She passed away at the age of 71.
Yes.
And then we have Loretta Swit, who was known for the TV series MASH.
She was Hot Lips Houlihan, yeah.
She died at the age of 87.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Renee Victor. She was the abuelita in Coco. She died at the age of 86.
I mean, she was up there.
Then we have Devin Harjes. He's known for the show Boardwalk Empire. He died at the age of 41 from like a sudden cancer diagnosis.
Oh, God.
So that's wild.
I've never watched that.
I haven't either.
I should.
And
we should.
Robert Benton died, an American director and screenwriter.
I mean, Kramer versus Kramer, and also Places in the Heart, which is excellent if you haven't seen it. But yeah, he hadn't directed anything since 2007. But yeah.
He was 92 years old.
Yeah, he was up there too.
The secret film this week was Nick's choice, and Nick chose the 1999 American psychological thriller The Talented Mr. Ripley, directed by Anthony Minghella.
Yes.
It is based on the Patricia Highsmith novel.
Yes.
And it stars Matt Damon as Tom Ripley, not to be confused with Ellen Ripley.
Not at all. No, yes. Different Ripley.
Oh, I have to say that there is like a Netflix series called Ripley.
Yeah, that's about this character.
And people kept sending me messages when I guess when it first came out, like you guys need to watch Ripley.
Uh-huh.
And then I remember thinking, like, why haven't we? Like, why hasn't Nick wanted to see this movie based on the aliens character?
It's not that I don't want to. I like Andrew Scott, who I think is the first time an actual homosexual is playing this character. But yeah,
Oh, Andrew Scott's playing Tom Ripley?
in this Netflix series, yeah.
So he's playing him as an older man.
Yeah, because Patricia Highsmith has a whole series, and Mr. Ripley does age.
Just to be clear, so my relationship to this movie is that I knew nothing about it, didn't know it was based on a book. I had heard about this, like I had heard this title, and I think back in the early 2000s, maybe hearing that like there's something gay about the story, but never had any interest in watching it. And then as we're watching it, I'm like, oh, is he gonna get like, because the main character is a villain, so I'm telling you, like in the hour, like at the 90-minute mark of this 2+ hour movie, I'm like, oh gosh, is he gonna get away with this? And you're like, hello, stupid, it's a series of books. Like of course he's gonna persist. But what is your relationship to this film?
I saw it in 1999, and I was in 9th grade. So it was 14, 15. It had a profound effect on me. And I haven't seen it probably around since then. But, it's a good gateway, of course, because I discovered Patricia Highsmith, lesbian crime writer who I immediately remember going to the public library and checking out the other Ripley series. And then, of course, made me discover that this is not the first adaptation of this. There's Renee Clement's Purple Noon, starring Alain Delon, a much more straight version, heterosexual version. There's also Wim Wenders' version, The American Friend, with Dennis Hopper. And then shortly after this, Anthony Minghella film, Liliana Cavani directed a version of one of the following novels called Ripley Underground, starring John Malkovich. So I became kind of obsessed with this, and like I said, it had a kind of a lasting effect about at this point in time, at this kind of level, with somebody like Anthony Minghella, who his film before this was The English Patient, and Matt Damon. It did feel very queer at the time, and I think it opened my mind to the possibility of how I would want to live my life as a gay person, and things I would or would not do.
Okay, what is this story about? Tom Ripley is hired to retrieve wealthy playboy Dickie Greenleaf from Italy. Envying Dickie's lifestyle, Tom kills him and assumes his identity. To protect his secret, he lies and murders again. His charm masks a chilling descent into deceit, obsession, and morally unpunished crime. So, after watching it, I did like it. I think I was a little cool on it.
You were, but that's okay.
But as I was thinking about it this morning, I think I like it much more than I originally thought. So the story, to elaborate, so Tom Ripley is played by Matt Damon. And he's kind of this like broke guy who can play the piano. In the opening of the film, we see that he gets a gig playing piano at this fancy event. Basically, someone didn't show up, and so he takes over, and he needs to wear a jacket. He doesn't have one, so I think the person who he's replacing gives him his jacket, and that jacket has like a Princeton logo on it.
Yes.
So this man at this event,
Herbert Greenleaf, played by James Rebhorn, who you've seen in many, many things.
He is like, oh, you're a Princeton man. Well, then you must know my son, Dickie Greenleaf. He went to Princeton. And Tom Ripley goes, oh, well, how's Dickie? Like implying like, yeah, I know him. I went to Princeton, even though he didn't and doesn't know this man. And then we get this like 5-minute montage where Tom Ripley and Mr. Greenleaf, the patriarch of this rich family, they like connect. Mm-hmm. Mr. Greenleaf likes Tom. And we start to maybe realize that maybe Tom is more like the type of son he wanted.
Yeah, he's kind of obsequious and malleable.
Right. So then Mr. Greenleaf goes, well, my raggedy ass son is somewhere in Europe hiding out, and I want him to come back to America so he can take over my business.
And mom is dying.
And mom's dying. Can you go to Europe and get his ass and bring him back? I don't know. Well, you always wanted to go, and I'll pay you $1,000, and it's 1950s, so that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So Tom says, okay, I'll go. He gets there, and immediately it's clear that he's kind of okay with we know he's okay with lying because he doesn't tell these people, I didn't go to Princeton, I don't know your damn son.
Right.
But he gets there and he meets Kate Blanchett and kind of pretends for no good goddamn reason that he is part of the Greenleaf family.
Mm-hmm.
So as the audience and as someone who didn't know anything about the story, it's like, oh, he's like catch me if you can status.
Uh-huh.
But he finally finds, after doing some recon, he spies Dickie Greenleaf and confronts him at a beach.
In Manji.
And who is Dickie Greenleaf? The very beautiful Jude Law.
In his Oscar-nominated role.
The Golden Boy.
Yes. And immediately it sets up that the juxtaposition of the Golden Boy versus the whiteness of Tom Ripley, which I think were meant to be a metaphor for a blank slate for which anything can be written upon.
Yeah. So Ripley goes up to Dickie and is like, hey, girl, don't you remember me from Princeton? I don't know. Yeah, well, I knew you, so I assumed that you knew me, but whatever. What a coincidence. And Dickie is there with his girlfriend.
Fiance.
Gwyneth Paltrow. Large Marge. And Marge is real friendly. She's like, oh, Ripley, you should, come have a lunch with us. And of course, Ripley loves that idea. So he goes and meets them for lunch, but Dickie shows up late because he's off having sex with some other lady.
Silvana.
So then we get this sort of montage of them getting really close, like the three of them. And it's very clear that Ripley is enamored with Dickie Greenleaf.
Yes.
He is in love with this man. And Gwyneth Paltrow is kind of she seems oblivious, but also kind of she has her own problems because her man's cheating on her. She can tell. But everything comes to a head. Well, there's a little bit of a blip because Philip Seymour Hoffman plays this character named Freddie.
Oh, and he's so disgusting.
We need to get back to Freddie.
Disgusting.
But Freddie is sniffing out this Matt Damon character he's not the real deal. It's also very clear that Jude Law is this character, Dickie Greenleaf, who I think many of us have met someone like him.
Yes, that runs through people. Yeah.
Well, this enchanting, very appealing person who just runs through people because people are very open to him.
They let him.
Yeah. And so things come to a head when the woman Silvana, who Dickie is having an affair with, she becomes pregnant. And Dickie's like, well, bitch, I'm not, I cannot be a part of this. So this lady kills herself at an event that.
We need to talk about that scene because I think that's highly metaphorical as well.
Yes, we'll get back to it. But this lady kills herself at this event, where they're having this religious event, and Dickie's there with Gwyneth and Matt Damon. And so now Dickie's kind of shaken, and he's like, I need to make a change. I need to leave Manji. I need to go be free. I need to leave you, Matt Damon. I don't it was fun while it lasted, but also Mr. Greenleaf, the dad, has written Ripley and said, you know what, clearly you're not going to get my son back, so consider your work done.
Yeah.
You're free to move on. So of course Ripley is upset, no, I don't want to leave. And Dickie's like, you gotta, but let's have one last hurrah. So they go on this one final trip, and they're out on this boat in the ocean somewhere, or a lake. I don't know where they are. Some big body of water. And they get into an argument because Dickie's like, you're weird and boring and a creep.
You're a leech.
And you're a leech.
And the night before, Ripley had laid some cards down on the table that he had admitted some truths about himself.
Yeah. And I think that Dickie kind of sensed that maybe Ripley is gay, because he had kind of caught him. Well, he also didn't like that Ripley was wearing his clothes and dancing around in sort of a faggy way.
Yeah.
There's a bathtub scene that you can tell Dickie's a little uncomfortable with Ripley. But they're on this boat and they start arguing, and Ripley loses it and kills. He kills Dickie. He like bludgeons him to death with an oar.
Yes.
And then sinks the boat. Okay. So then of course Ripley's like, what am I gonna do? And he goes back to the hotel that they were staying in, and the hotel staff mistakes Ripley for Dickie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he has this aha moment, like, I could just impersonate Dickie.
But he'd already been kind of,
He had. So we see him like, getting money because he's learned how to forge Dickie's signature, and people think he's him. He had gone to the bank with Dickie, so like the bank people give him money. And then he's hanging out with Gwyneth Paltrow, who's, worried that her man is missing. And Ripley is perpetuating this idea that Dickie has ran away. But then Freddie, Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, shows up, and he's like, something in the milk ain't clean.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you living in Dickie's apartment? Like, this is weird. And then like his apartment's not decorated like him.
It's so bourgeois.
Like, this looks like some shit you would have done. And then that's when the housekeeper kind of spills the beans, because Philip Seymour Hoffman sees the housekeeper refer to Matt Damon as Dickie.
Right.
So he's like, ooh, I'm going to go into town and tell them what you've been up to. So,
okay, Agnes Moorehead, yeah.
So Ripley kills Freddie, bludgeons him with a bust.
Yes.
Like a statue.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he gets busted with a bust.
So in the final act is Ripley trying to figure out, like, how am I going to get away? Because now detectives are like putting the pieces together. But what saves Ripley is Dickie's dad, Mr. Greenleaf. He knows some things about his son that Ripley doesn't know.
Uh-huh.
And specifically that when Ripley was at Princeton, he almost killed a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he got mad and beat up this guy and damn near killed him.
Over a woman, supposedly, but it sounds like gay panic, but okay.
So, right. So the dad is thinking, well, and then there are these rumors that maybe Dickie like faked his death to kind of escape. And it's trying to pin it on
Ripley.
So the dad thinks that Ripley is trying to protect his son.
Yes. So
he's trying to help him stay out of trouble. So basically the dad convinces the Italian authorities like Ripley had nothing to do with any of it, even though Gwyneth Paltrow is convinced he did it.
Well, and I think this film is really interesting in how it, totally discounts women.
Oh, yes. We need to get back to that. So in the end, not only does Mr. Greenleaf tell through his lawyer, because of course Mr. Greenleaf needs to be protected, but the lawyer basically says, yeah.
Oh, the investigator, Philip Baker Hall.
That's the investigator? I thought that was the dad's lawyer.
No, I think he's the investigator.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was pretty sure that man who was talking to him, because he's American.
Yeah, he was the one that was in San Remo.
Oh, yes, you're right. He's not the Italian investigator. He's
right.
Yeah, okay, but he basically tells Matt Damon, "Oh, Mr. Greenleaf, he knows that you know all of Dickie's secrets, and he knows you were trying to protect him. So he wants to thank you. Mm-hmm. So we're going to make sure you don't get into trouble, and we're going to give you all of Dickie's money as a thank you."
Which is so creepy because it's like, so y'all think Dickie's dead too,
so Ripley hit the lottery.
Yeah.
So the end of the film is him, and then of course Gwyneth Paltrow screaming like, "I know he did it," and the dad's grabbing her like, "Bitch, shut up."
Yeah.
And then the final scene is Ripley gets on this boat, and who does he see? Cate Blanchett, who he had met earlier in the film when he first got to Europe, and he had told her that he is Dickie Greenleaf.
Meredith Logue. Yeah.
So that's like the final sense of tension in the story is that, oh my God, there's still some pieces to the puzzle. Like there's still some loose ends because there are people out there who still think that Matt Damon is Dickie Greenleaf.
Yes.
And I'm assuming in future books they deal with it, but.
Yeah. Well, I also recall Ripley being he's kind of bisexual because he has several relationships as the books go on. But yeah.
So my initial thought, so when we ended the film, I thought it was very good, but I initially said, I don't know, I wanted it to be a little more sexy, a little more thrilling.
You left out a key character that provides the profound effect. is Peter Smith Kingsley, played by Jack Davenport.
Who is the gay best friend of Gwyneth Paltrow, who is kind of smitten with Ripley.
And he's also connected to Meredith.
Kate Blanchett.
Yes.
And so they develop a relationship, and it is that gay guy, Peter
Smith Kingsley,
who kind of helps Ripley talk to the Italian authorities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But after thinking about it, so what do I like? I really love this story. Like this character of Tom Ripley.
Well, it's a beautiful ballet of code switching for queers.
Yes.
It's sinister. It's melancholic. I think it's a very sad film.
I think what sent me over the like what convinced me that this movie is better than I originally thought is I kept thinking this morning, you probably couldn't make this movie in 2025, like visually.
Oh yeah, like all the
you would need a $200-300 million budget to be able to shoot in these areas and shut it, because they're all tourist traps now.
Yeah.
So it's like, how could you even shoot?
Oh yeah, all the scenes in Venice.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I mean, this is just, I mean, it's spectacular to look at. I felt like I was transported to a place. I do think Matt Damon he's kind of perfect for this character in this movie.
At this time.
Because he's handsome and seemingly innocent, but also a little creepy.
Well, it's kind of his descent into the man he will become, because there's some innocence about him.
Yeah.
And I remember being quite taken. I was more taken with Matt Damon than Jude Law at the age that I saw this.
Well, I like Jude Law.
I do too.
And he is peak Juding. In this movie,
he's incredibly handsome here, but I think that I was responding to who I felt more like as a human.
Well, I think Matt Damon's very attractive in this movie too.
Yes,
but it's like Jude Law, that face on screen.
But there are things that happened or that are said to Matt Damon's character that resonated, such as because he has these signature glasses that he takes off, and Jude Law tells him like, "Oh, you're not so ugly without the glasses," which is something people would say to me at that age where I had glasses. So,
and then also not just because it's Jude Law, but I think many of us have had experiences with like. I mean, I can think of a couple people who were like Jude Laws in my life, like
people that we allow ourselves to think that are better than us or of a higher pedigree, and when their sun shines on us, we're like, oh wow,
and who also are not available to us in the way we want.
Correct,
like they're not like they're straight.
And there's something tantalizing about that, right? Tantalus from Greek mythology, just out of reach,
right? And so I there's a lot of magic in that dynamic on screen. And then I do think there are a couple of key scenes so there's a bathtub scene, which we'll get into, but I think that really provide that sort of sexual tension that I was craving. But then, so when we finished the film, I thought, I wish there were more of that. But as I think about it, it's like, I think there's a perfect amount of it because, this character is more complex than just his sexuality.
Yes.
Like he's sort of a sociopath. Like,
yeah, well, if you compare it to a modern type story version of this, like Saltburn, right?
Oh, that's my first note, that it was giving Saltburn. And you know what else I thought of? On Swift Horses.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Diego Calva character in that movie is putting his cards out on the table. Like, we just need to go out here and do raggedy shit.
Yeah.
Like that's his priority, right? Diego Calva's character wants to like steal, and Jacob Elordi is genuinely in love with him. So he's conflicted. Like, I just want to be with you. Why can't we just stay in this hotel room and be in love? And I kind of felt like it's not the same as this Talented Mr. Ripley story, but it's kind of the inverse of it.
Yeah.
But these kind of relationships, I mean, I'm sure you could think of 100 movies that have similar devices.
It's funny. I just happened to watch this week, I guess fortuitously, a film called Something for Everyone, starring Angela Lansbury and Michael York. And that is very much more that Saltburn seems like a ripoff of that film, because it's about somebody obsessed with this house or castle and kind of inserts himself in the fabric of the people in it and then seduces all of them, and that is essentially what Saltburn is. But I think there are lots of parallels, but what I think sets Talented Mr. Ripley apart is a complexity that goes beyond just having nice things. It's an identity crisis.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know that sociopath is the right word to describe him, because he's
human. He feels empathetic to me. Yeah.
right. And and he feels love and like connection. So I mean he's he's twisted. He's sick. Like there's
Yes, but also
he's a murderer.
but arguably a product of an environment as well.
But it's a really good character that you can feel drawn. Like you're drawn to him. You're attracted to him. You feel bad for him, but also he's like a murderer. So, and he's a villain. So it's a very complex villain that we feel that way.
Well, he says that one line quite perfectly, because Matt Damon's voice is breaking, about how he always thought it was better to be a fake somebody than a real nobody.
Yeah.
And I think most of us having a human experience have had to dance around ideas like that.
Okay, let me get through these notes. So it's interesting that Ripley, when he's first getting to know Dickie, he basically tells him who he is.
He does, yes.
He's like, "Child, I'll forge signatures. I impersonate people real well." Like, and it always makes me think of that quote of like, when people show you who they are, believe them.
Right.
But the irony in that is that both characters need to recognize what they see. Like Matt Damon is not, or Ripley is not seeing that this man Dickie is not really available to you. Like the only reason you're in his proximity is because you're pretending to be someone you're not, and you're there with an agenda and a mission. So this man is never going to be to you what you want him to be.
But Dickie is also a person who isn't what he appears to be, or doesn't really know who he is either. He's code switching as well.
Yes. And also Dickie's not recognizing like this man is dangerous. Like,
yes,
he's
frivolous.
Yeah. But okay. Speaking of forging signatures, at a point, as Ripley is showing Dickie this, he's analyzing his handwriting, which made me think, what would your handwriting say about you?
I thought of that too.
Or what would my handwriting say about me? Because I think it would say I'm probably very particular.
Yes.
And that I take my time.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't like rush things.
What do you think mine would say?
That this person is impatient.
Mm-hmm.
And a little like self-absorbed.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sure.
Well, because I say this all the time when I see people's handwriting. It's like, what's the point of writing something down if no one can read it?
Exactly.
And then the added layer is that you can't even
including read myself.
So yeah. To me, it seems a little like self-absorbed or narcissistic. Like
I'll take the criticism. Sure.
Like you think that what you're writing is so important that like we're going to try hard to read it. No, girl.
You want that script?
If you hand me something that's handwritten, I can't read it, it's going in the trash. I'm not going to try.
Well, yes.
Because to me, it's like, it's not like, was it not important for you to get your words across? Like, what's the point of writing something no one can read? But it also makes me think that this person probably has the kind of mind that moves at a very fast pace.
Juggling thoughts.
And oftentimes I think people who write with chicken scratch don't write like complete thoughts. Like they'll just write words.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which shorthand. I think when you read, and my brain doesn't work like that. Like I have to write out my full thought. Mm-hmm. If I just write a word down, I may not be able to extrapolate. So then I think that's why when I do write, I write very legibly. I write in complete sentences because I actually need to remind myself of what my thought was.
Oh, see, mine are more like hints to unlock the mysteries of my mind.
Yeah, if you look at Nick's notes, it's like, oh, he's just writing like one word. But then it's like sometimes you can't even read that word. And
entanglement.
Yeah. So did you read the book?
Yes,
you said that.
Years ago, I read several Highsmith books, and there's a documentary that I haven't seen about her. And Shailene Woodley, I believe, is starring in a movie playing her. And of note, before I forget, Cate Blanchett would famously star in another Patricia Highsmith adaptation years later, Todd Haynes' Carol playing a lesbian based on the book The Price of Salt.
So I understand that in this movie, a big part of the movie is music, specifically jazz. And I understand that in the book, jazz is not even a component, like the music's not even a component of the story.
Mm.
So that's an interesting layer, and I'm not prepared to talk about it. Because I watched some video where some guy was talking specifically about a song.
My Funny Valentine?
No, it's something else. It's a piece of music that
By Chet Baker?
maybe.
Well, Chet Baker.
And the significance of that, I'm not qualified to talk about. But.
Well, Chet Baker is like a white jazz musician, and talking about I think there are some noteworthy discussions that can happen about, appropriation perhaps, and taking over. I think Chet Baker was an amazing musician, so I don't want to say parasitic, but yeah, there is that element, right, of this whiteness taking over, and that's essentially how Ripley is operating. He's a parasite.
Okay, we need to talk about Freddie.
Ugh. There is somebody that I see in Berlin. He's a programmer at some queer film festival that acts just like this person, and it was giving me the heebie-jeebies.
It's perfect casting for this character because Philip Seymour Hoffman does such a good job of being, I don't even know how to describe him, because we don't get maybe in the book it's more defined, but I didn't even, do you think that Freddie's character comes from money? Or is he also a mooch?
I think he's also a mooch, but comes from probably a better
pedigree
than Tom Ripley, and he can navigate these worlds, and he's a frenemy because he talks shit about Dickie as well, and all these people seem to be using each other. I think it's funny the way Philip Seymour Hoffman plays this character. Is there's a feyness to him. In the first words out of his mouth, there's something vulgar about sleeping with
wants to have sex with every woman he sees.
It's like, okay, I don't believe you. I think you were trying too hard. And I think there's something interesting about that too, in relation to Tom Ripley, as this person who is exhibiting, I think, signs of homosexuality himself is demeaning me, who's working very hard to repress that part of me. I think there's an interesting dynamic going on there with that.
Okay, you wanted to talk about the scene where Sylvana kills herself?
Well, yeah, because we get that great shot of the Virgin Mary, a statue of her being lifted. Like these poor people, like drown ourselves.
Yeah, how long were they underwater to create this moment?
And go. And then, of course, her, the Virgin Mary in this very religious, small Italian village is followed by a real life woman, a pregnant woman who's killed herself because she's pregnant. Out of wedlock. I don't. The irony there, I think, is very obvious, but compelling.
Okay, one of the most stressful scenes in this movie is after Ripley has killed Dickie and is assuming his identity. He goes to the opera.
He's there with Marge.
Large Marge
as Dickie. They're in Rome.
No.
Yeah.
Who does he bump into?
He bumps into Peter Smith Kingsley, and they have like an instant kind of connection because, they're attracted to one another. And then, he's there with Peter Smith Kingsley's there with Marge, and she's like, "Where's Dickie?" And it's because it's intermission. And meanwhile, Ripley's been there with Meredith.
No, he's there with Cate Blanchett.
Yeah, Meredith.
Okay, I think let me start over.
Okay.
The most stressful scene is Ripley is at the opera with Cate Blanchett.
Yes.
And she thinks that he is Dickie Greenleaf.
Yes.
But then during intermission, he goes out to use the bathroom and bumps into Marge and Peter.
Mm-hmm. And
he freaks out because they know he is not Dickie Greenleaf. And I thought it was so stressful.
Yes.
And then that's like what? I mean, that's like
over halfway.
And then the film really gets tense.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the thriller component comes in, because now it's almost like everything that Ripley's doing, he's doing on the fly. Like he's really trying to figure shit out as it comes. And again, as someone who didn't know this was based on a series of books, I was so stressed out thinking, is he going to get caught? But even knowing that he's not, it was still very, very stressful.
Yes, because he yanks Kate Meredith out of the opera, even though she's like, I thought you were enjoying it, because she sees him crying. And then go on this carriage ride, and he basically says it's because he saw she knows that he's, as Dickie, broken off an engagement with Marge. So she thinks that explains all of his angst.
And then what follows is another really good scene where basically Ripley orchestrates a meeting between Kate Blanchett and Gwyneth Paltrow, so that they can kind of he's trying to keep them separate, but also maintain this narrative that Dickie just left
Marge in the lurch. Right. Yes.
And that,
but he's conflicted about it with Meredith,
and that Ripley exists.
Yes.
So he's maintaining this narrative by having these two women meet each other, and I just thought that was so well done.
Yeah, they play right into his hands.
And then the next scene is really good, where Philip Seymour Hoffman comes to what he thinks is Dickie's home, but really it's the home Matt's created. The house that Dickie built, that Ripley's living in. That was super tense. And then when Freddie is talking to the housekeeper, and then when she looked, and then of course Ripley's peering out from like the stairwell. And when the housekeeper sees him and she goes, "Oh, Mr. Dickie." Yeah. Like, oop. And then he pops out like, "Oh."
Philip Seymour Hoffman's mouth, he's like slack-jawed, like,
oh, that was so good. And then he storms back upstairs and Ripley kills his ass.
Oh, I think Damon's got some good acting moments there when Philip Seymour Hoffman's screaming at him like, "Oh, like it's on the..." He's explaining where Dickie's eating at some restaurant. He basically saying like, "Who are you to tell me where things are?"
Well, and then he goes like, "Oh, when I first met you, you didn't know where anything was, and now you're trying to tell me where everything is."
Well, in the way that Matt Damon's looking at him is like a crocodile looking at, like it's creepy in a way, but also satisfying. Like, yeah, you fat. Anyway, I do like that scene.
Then we get, I mean, again, Ripley has to come up with shit on the fly, because then he writes this suicide note for like,
to himself from
Dickie. So now Marge, Gwyneth Paltrow's character, is sort of interacting more with Ripley, because Ripley is with, what's his name? Peter.
Mm-hmm.
But then that starts to get hot and heavy, because she's clearly like, I don't think something's not right.
She knows something's not right, yes.
And then we get a scene where Ripley's in the bathtub and she's like, "I need to talk to you. It's urgent." And he comes out in his little towel and she says, "I found Dickie's rings. Why do you have his rings? He said he promised me he would never take them off. Why do you have them?" And she's panicking. And that's when you see Matt Damon's butt, because he drops his towel.
And he's got a razor, like he's going to cut her.
And then you think that he's going to attack her, but that's when Peter comes in. And then again, this character Ripley is so good on the fly, because he just reacts like, "Ugh, she's just unreasonable. I don't know what to do with her. You talk to her." Like, you were about to kill this lady.
I like what he's saying to her as well, because she's like, that she Dickie promised he'd never take these rings off, and she's stuck on this promise made to her. And he's like, promises to people like him don't mean what you think a promise means. Which is true.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can talk about this movie for hours, but I think my overall feeling is it's a very effective thriller love story. It is sad.
It's sad, and it make like how kind of gay men sometimes use women to meet their own needs in a way, because all of the women are completely discounted in this. And I don't really like Gwyneth Paltrow, but I like her in this and Royal Tenenbaums, but her anguish, that you can feel that anguish at the end when she's getting on the boat in Venice. It's like, I know you did something.
I know you did this,
and I'm being treated like a crazy person.
Yeah, I think the brilliance of this Tom Ripley character, of me feeling bad for him, even though he's a straight up villain.
Well, it's just like Dickie's an asshole, a pretty asshole. Philip Seymour Hoffman's a disgusting asshole. It's like, when I think even you made the comment when he's like propping his body up in the car. It's like, well, you're not very You don't really feel bad for him dying.
No.
But who I do feel bad for is Jack Davenport at the very end.
Peter, because he's sort of entangled with this
because
dangerous man.
Meredith's on the boat thinking that he's Dickie. He thinks that he's been able to slough off Dickie and he can go live his, he seems genuinely happy with this man who also is attracted to him. But Meredith clocks him and he asks who she's with. And then you see her whole company, like including Celia Weston, her aunt. And you can see him calculating, like,
how am I going to...
I can't kill her.
Yeah.
So that, which means he has to kill... Yeah. And I think it's a really well done script because he doesn't want to kill Peter Smith Kingsley. He comes back to the room and he's like, I think we should just stay in here for the rest of the trip. But Peter has seen him kissing Meredith. Yeah. And so it's just like, he realizes in that moment, I can't get out of this.
Yeah.
And then he strangles him. And then Lorenz Hart's My Funny Valentine lyrics come, crashing in about it. Like there's just, it's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely watch this movie again. I would like to see it in a theater. But yeah, after thinking about it more and talking about it more, I would definitely give it a higher score than I originally thought. What would you give The Talented Mr. Ripley?
It's a 4 for me. And I don't think it's perfect, but I there's some things that I still respond to so strongly in this. And I think there's a more daring version out there, but for 1999, I don't know, this film meant so much to me as a kid, and it still does. And I think that I think Minghella, who's also now dead, I think put a lot of care and craft into this, and we didn't even talk about anybody else in the cast and crew, but it was edited by the great Walter Murch. It was shot by John Seal, Gabriel Yared's score. I think it's a very lush adaptation of this.
I think I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5.
Oh, wow. Higher than me. Okay. While we were watching this, you straight up were like, this needs to be sexier. This needs to be.
Well, but as it washed over me, it feels like it's the right amount of ingredients as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, that Gwyneth is hot off an Oscar at this point. So is Matt Damon. Kate would go on to win 2. Jude Law got I think this film got 5 Oscar nods and didn't win any, but.
It's also off the strength of me thinking I would totally watch this movie again.
Yeah.
Like this could be a movie I watched annually. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's The Talented Mr. Ripley. I know I don't know what we're doing this week.
Oh, there's a bunch of stuff.
People were asking about, is it Dangerous Animals?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Am I seeing that?
I believe so. I think you'll really like it. It was in Cannes.
It's a shark movie.
It's a shark movie. Yeah. With, what's his name? Jay, God, why am I forgetting his last name? Anyway, I think you will like it. It's got a great female lead. There's also, Exorcism movie with Al Pacino and Dan Stevens.
Oh, I'll watch that.
And then The Life of Chuck.
Yeah.
We have to see that. That's Mike Flanagan, Stephen King adaptation, and it won the People's Choice in Toronto Film Festival. Like we have to watch that.
We'll see. All right. Well, are you reading anything? Are you?
Right now, I'm reading Marlene by Philip Gian. I'm almost done with it, and he was the writer of the book Elle was based on, and also Betty Blue. Gives you an indication.
Who's that man I liked from Betty Blue?
Jean-Hugh Anglade, I think. And I love Beatrice Dahl, but
anything else?
No.
Ta-ta.